Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. Well, a bunch of you have asked me for my take on the recent firing of Andris from the Boston Symphony. And I have to say, I gave it, lots and lots of thought for at least, a minute or two. And I got to tell you, my reaction was just, who cares? My goodness, what difference does it make? I know that this is what passes for news in the world of classical music. But the reality is the rationale for it can only be a source of speculation. You know, the board of the Boston Symphony doesn't reveal what its criteria are for keeping or dismissing somebody. We can assume that they're unhappy with him at some level. What that source of unhappiness is, who knows? I can only judge him based on the recordings. I mean, I've seen him live a couple times, but that doesn't matter. And the truth is, the success or failure of a music director has much more to do with, audience attendance and live performances than it does recordings. So I can't judge his overall success or failure rate with the Boston Symphony specifically. He's not a bad conductor. I will say this. He's done most of his worst work elsewhere, which is good for Boston. Much as I would have loved to have heard a Bruckner cycle in Boston, because I love to listen to that orchestra, thank God he did it in Leipzig. And, his horrible Beethoven was in Vienna. And, and there's more coming. There's something coming soon. I forget what it is, Schumann or Mendelssohn or some Mendelssohn, I think it is coming from Leipzig. He's recording everything. None of it matters because his achievement, on disc anyway, has been completely mediocre. Even his Shostakovich in Boston, which had some splendid recordings, if he'd only restricted him to the ones he did really well, restricted himself, to the ones he did really well, we'd be in really, really good shape. But he didn't. He did everything, and half of it sucks. And he did Lady Macbeth and Mid-Sense, get really slow tempos, and that sort of sucks. And it just, there's no rational program to what any of these people are doing. So if he had, for example, some obvious strengths as a conductor, well, maybe Shostakovich was one of them. I don't know. But if he had some really obvious strengths and that's what he was doing, and he was getting acclaim for it somehow, somewhere, by somebody, and the orchestra kicked him out, then we could say, this was unfair, this was unjust, something was done that was, not nice to him. But he didn't. He doesn't. I just can't think of more of a non-happening that people are trying to create news about. And for me, it's just not news. I mean, we've got, wars going on in the world. We have things that are important. How does this rate? It doesn't for me. Not a bit. And, the only thing that has come out of this that I've noticed in all of the reports, because I'm in the same shape you are, I don't have any inside information about these things, is that the orchestra was unhappy at his sudden dismissal. Well, who cares about that? I mean, frankly, I am on record as being opposed to orchestras having significant say in who their music directors are. I really do. I don't believe they should make that choice. I don't think that they're qualified. I really don't. And so that's neither here nor there. And that's all just rumor anyway. I mean, the orchestra, well, maybe they put out a statement saying, we don't like what the board did. So what? I mean, that happens 200 times a year in most orchestras. They put out statements saying, we don't like what management does. Orchestras never like what management does, and management never likes what the orchestra wants. That's the nature of labor relations in the classical music industry, and probably most other industries as well. I don't think that the orchestra itself should be the principal determinant of who their music director is, because I know for a fact, having been around the block a few hundred times, that they're going to pick the person they like. And the person they like is going to be the person who encourages them to do the least amount of work. I have never in all of my career seen an orchestra say, we want this guy to be our music director forever because we think he's a superior musician who's going to urge us to rise to unparalleled heights of sublimity in our music making. It just doesn't happen that way these days. I wish it did. I mean, I wish it maybe once in a while something happens like that. Every so often something bizarre. It could happen in like weird places like Germany, where if you have a concept, they'll take you no matter what the concept is, so you get like Celibidache in Munich and, that kind of stuff. But, I don't see people, up in arms about Andris Nelson's leaving Boston. I don't think it's going to make any difference at all. The real issue is not that he's going. The issue for me is who's coming. Let's see who they get. Are they going to choose a choice that's just incredibly stupid and ridiculous? Or are they going to choose any one of like really incredibly gifted, talented conductors out there? A lot of them female, for example. Why not? I mean, if they do something really smart, I'll be shocked, but that will sort of tell me what their thinking was and in which direction they want to go. So I am very, very, very interested to see who will be coming in. I am not so interested in who is going out. And that is my opinion about the dismissal of Andris Nelson. He'll land on his feet. He'll be fine. Someone will snag him, and he'll continue to do so-so concerts, as he seems to have been doing up to this point. And that's the story. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.